Hey, what's going on, Taka fam? So in the community post, I talked about some things you need to know about Branded. So I'm gonna name this video probably Don't Get Baited. So here's a few things you need to know. So first off, Mirror Jade is one of the cards that obviously we know is like our boss monster. So people are finding creative ways to deal with it. And I've been keeping this on the low for a while because I knew when I was playing Branded, but nobody was doing it. Now I'm starting to see people do it. So Mirror Jade has a secret effect where you can only control one Mirror Jade. Everybody knows that. But did you know with these cards right here, being able to place Mirror Jade into the spell and trap zone is a problem. Because it says you can only control one Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. So even in the spell and trap zone, it's just a continuous spell with that name. So that means that all these cards that can place them are outs to the Mirror Jade. Meaning you can't summon a second Mirror Jade at all. So that's one way that they can break it, especially against like Voiceless and stuff like that. And the Snake Eye deck does this, but Voiceless, they have a hard time with Mirror Jade because it doesn't target and it just banishes. Okay, so the next thing to note is with the field spell, they can place their Snake Eye monsters, so like the Flamberge, for example. And imagine with a monster like Flamberge, if they summon it off of like an Oak or Ash, they can take your Albaz and put it in the spell and trap zone, and then summon it against you. The way that they use it most times is typically with Super Poly. And you know most of them play Mud Dragon, Garura. So whenever you decide to play during their turn, they can use this to target your Albaz, summon it. So now they can Super Poly you. And if they don't have that play, they can also just use Super Poly, of course. So kind of keep that in mind. This other section is called Don't Get Baited in the main phase. So a lot of times people use this card in the draw phase, but a lot of players, they like to do mind games, and if they have talents, that's how they bait you. So if you do Siding Droll, you have Droll, and they go standby main, and this is one of their first actions, don't fall for the bait. They're trying to make you use a hand trap so that they can pretty much either take a monster from you if they're going second, or look in your hand to see what else you have so that they know if they can full combo or not. So gotta be careful with that. And here's the flip side of that. Even if they use this during the main phase, they could be baiting you in 3 different ways. Like I said, having talents is one of them. The second way is pretending that they have talents, because it is optimal to always use this in the draw phase, or you could use this to chain the Droll or whatever. And the third way is just trying to make you use interactions, pretty much. So kind of be careful with those. And here's some other cards that can be used in the main phase. Obviously, we just talked about talents, but all these cards steal monsters. So we should be taking advantage of monsters going or cards like this going second to take monsters and avoid destroying, you know, Fire King monsters. So these cards are actually good against a monster like Arvada. There's a couple things that Fire King players do if they do have Arvada and they decide, I don't know, summon a Linkuriboh. And this is like their 5th summon. You could be getting baited into one of these cards right here, because 9 times out of 10 they do have a fire monster, so keep that in mind. But there's other times, depending on the way that they play, they may not have a fire monster in their hand, but they could be baiting you. Because like I said, they might need you to help them fix their hand, so they might use this to draw 2, or they might just take a card from out of your hand. Or they'll force you to nib them, and then take the nib, and then keep comboing. Same thing with the Snatch Steal. So kind of keep that in mind. Next thing is Apollousa. So interesting thing about this, A lot of people are ending on this, and then there's the other half of people who decided to move away from this because this card is low-key good and bad at the same time. Because this card is pretty much a Talons magnet, or a Snatch Steal magnet, or a Change of Heart magnet. That's why these cards, like I was saying, was important. Because if we play these as well, we're going second. We go Aluber, use the effect, they're gonna negate it. And when they do, these cards is what comes in clutch, because now we get to use this to stop their princess, you use this to stop their Garunix and stuff like that. So that's why half of them that know about it don't summon this. The other half do. But because we're playing branded, this is probably the only card that they would expect from us. The next thing is Monster Reborn. So this card got pretty popular because going second, especially in the mirror match for Snake Eye, just take the princess out of the grave or the Garunix so that you can start playing. So even if you draw a bunch of hand traps and stuff or going second cards, this is a pretty good card going second as a starter because you just take their cards and you start playing. And it forces negates, obviously, and then it also forces interactions with cards. So kind of keep a lookout for this. So if you're playing branded with hand traps, I suggest you guys stop. Because yes, we want to use hand traps to try to stop them, but branded already has a problem with consistency, not being able to play that much non-engine, and if we do play the non-engine, then we're less likely to play the game, and everybody knows that. And the only hand trap they're ever going to use on us most times is Ash Blossom. They're going to pretty much hold that for the fusion. So you don't want to enable cards that you don't need to. This card, I don't even know why I need to tell you guys this, but stop playing into this card. Like, I don't mean like running into an imperm. That's gonna happen. But stop letting imperm resolve on your monster and then placing a spell or trap in that same zone. I see that happen so much and people just lose for no reason. So don't let your opponent distract you because they probably will. A lot of the players tend to play that way to get the edge. Try not to give that much information to your opponent. And whenever you play into a card like this, you will probably get further questioned. Like once you start playing, your opponent might start having a small chat with you sometimes, depending on the player. Or they might be thinking here after this, or thinking through each of their interactions. Half the time they are, other time it could just be a part of the strategy to try to throw you off the game. So just stay focused. And the last two is zones to avoid. So we talk about this a lot because we know about Anima because of Pearly and other decks. So we obviously know to avoid this zone and this zone. But a lot of us forget about this card. It got popular again because of Mikanko, but it kind of fell out of favor. But this is actually good in the Snake Eye deck, in mirror matches and stuff like that, when your opponent is playing sloppily. So say I do have an imperm, sometimes I will catch somebody doing this, just normal summon a monster, play into an imperm, and oh, they have to pass? Okay, I'll summon level 1,